Hey you, welcome to my channel, A Year and a Day. My name is Jenny and welcome to part 2 of my random ramblings about my Schwarzwald prep. If you have not seen part 1 yet, I will link it down below. But basically this video will be about my preparations for my stay in Schwarzwald. I've been dreaming about living closer to nature for years now, and this year that dream will become reality when I will be staying in the German Black Forest for almost 6 weeks. And of course, because I have my priorities straight, I've been giving a lot of thought about all the creative stuff, books and tarot decks I want to bring with me. In part 1 I went over all kinds of creative stuff, like fountain pens and journals and books. And here in part 2 I will go over some tarot related books and tarot and oracle decks I plan to bring with me to Schwarzwald. So let's dive in. I want to bring these two tarot related books with me. Tarot for Change and New Directions in Tarot. I've mentioned Tarot for Change before. I absolutely love this book. It's very well written and I really love the way it connects the tarot to psychology and a lot of different therapy forms that I am familiar with. And it really gives a lot of lovely insights into the tarot. And as you can see, I am very happily marking all the things that I would like to remember. So I've read through the majors and the wands, and I would love to pick this one up again in Schwarzwald. The New Directions in Tarot is a relatively new publication and I saw it around somewhere and it just really intrigued me. I've read a little bit of this one, but I want to really dive in and read it cover to cover. And as far as I know now, this one was written by someone with a lot of experience in the theater. And the book is written with that in mind, so it's really a very interesting take on the tarot. And as you can see, the chapters don't go through all the suits, but they go through kind of the position that the cards are drawn in. So chapter 10 is about cards that present without characters illustrated. And chapter 6 is characters facing or moving stage right. And chapter 11 is called Cards with multiple characters on a level stage. And the book also has spreads and exercises, and I just think it's a really interesting take on the tarot, and I felt as though this one could actually teach me a lot as well. So I think I will be bringing this one as well with me, and that's New Directions in Tarot and the Tarot for Change. Now I'm also bringing my tarot study journal. I've shown this one before and it is evolving nicely. I've added this elastic band because it's getting more and more chunky. So this is my tarot study journal, and it is a notebook that I am collecting all kinds of information of all the cards in. I am using this little book, the Find Your Power About Tarot. This is just a general book on the meanings of the cards. And I'm using these little write-ups to include in the book, and then expand upon every card. And over time I will add my own thoughts or interesting phrases from guidebooks that I come across, and I just will keep adding into this notebook. which is why I chose to start a notebook in the Filofax clipbook, because it's a ring bound and you can very easily add and remove pages from this one. I have a tab for the majors and then tabs for all the minors. And as you can see, I am using that golden Art Nouveau tarot that I showed earlier. I am using the cards to illustrate. For now, I am actually quite happy to use the deck this way, because I was actually considering rehoming this one, just for the simple fact that I wasn't really using it, but it's so pretty, so it's perfect for this notebook. I will also start adding spreads and stuff like that to this notebook, so this is just really a notebook that I am planning to use for years to come and just really work very interactively with. I actually ended up purchasing another Filofax clipbook for the simple reason that I realized that if I want to do actual deck studies, I will not be able to fit it in this one. So this one I will be using for deck studies. And I actually plan to bring 2 decks with me that I want to do a deep dive for. And that's the Spacious Tarot and the Wildwood Tarot. Now the Wildwood Tarot is a tarot deck that I absolutely love, but I would really like to do a proper deep dive. I started a year in the Wildwood once, but I couldn't keep up, and then the notebook that I was using wasn't really allowing me to skip pages or stuff like that, because it would just become very complicated. And now that I am using a binder system, I hope that it will be a little bit more flexible in my deep dive. So I'm planning to pick up a year in the Wildwood again, and I also want to do a deep dive on the Spacious Tarot. This deck is relatively new to my collection and it's absolutely lovely. It really took me by surprise the way that this one felt to me and the way that the card meanings were interpreted, and it just really is an intriguing deck that I would really love to study more. So those will be the tarot decks and books that I will bring with me to study. And last but not least, the tarot and oracle decks that I plan to bring with me to Schwarzwald. Now, this is actually the next day that I am recording the deck bit of this video. The battery of my phone was dying yesterday when I filmed it, and I found myself kind of rushing through the decks. And that's quite a shame, because obviously decks are a big part of the fun. So let's check out some of the decks that I plan to bring with me to Schwarzwald. And let's start with the decks that I for sure will be bringing with me. These are the decks that I will for sure be bringing with me to Schwarzwald. The Essential Oils Healing deck, the Dreaming Way Tarot, the Roots and Wings Oracle deck, the Self-Love Tarot, and the Hollow Valley deck of symbols. Now these are kind of my workhorse decks. I feel like I can always rely on these to bring me very lovely messages, and I also love combining them together. And especially the Essential Oils Healing deck, the Dreaming Way Tarot, and the Roots and Wings Oracle give me really spring and summer vibes. The Essential Oils Healing deck is actually not really an oracle deck, but as the name suggests, it focuses on essential oils. Now, I've never made those myself. I do enjoy using them occasionally in my diffuser, but I really love the watercolor style of the drawings. And the cards contain not only the plant and the Latin name of the plant, but also a few keywords. It also contained some symbols relating to the oils, but I decided to trim those off. And because it has those keywords on the cards, this actually is my favorite plant deck in my collection. Or at least the deck that I use the most. And this is the Dreaming Way Tarot, and I actually trimmed my version. Originally it comes with white borders. But for me, this borderless version just makes the artwork stand out a little bit more. The Dreaming Way Tarot had been on my wish list for quite a long time. And even though it was easily available and very affordable, something was kind of holding me back. I wasn't sure if I would really like the deck or that it was maybe a little bit too quirky. But looking back, I don't know why I was hesitating. I absolutely love this deck so much. I love the colors. It's truly a spring and summer deck for me. I've used this in combination with my gardening and gardening books, and it just looks so absolutely beautiful. I've also taken this deck with me to Schwarzwald before and paired it up with the Essential Oils Healing deck, and I think they work very well together. So this was a complete no-brainer for me to bring both the Essential Oils deck and the Dreaming Way Tarot. The Roots and Wings Oracle has been in my collection for a few years now. And I have to admit, the first 1 or 2 years that I owned this deck, I wasn't really sure about it. I was hardly using it. I wasn't really bonding with it at all. But I knew I liked the illustrations and the quality of the deck. I love the keywords, which are very clear. So I just held on to it, and somewhere last year I really started using this deck. And this is also a deck that feels very spring and summery to me, probably because there is quite a lot of white space around the illustrations and the colors are very warm. And again, it's that watercolor style that goes well with the other decks that I'm bringing. And of course, that's quite important to have a few decks that I can mix and match. So these 3 decks will be coming with me for sure. Two other decks that I plan to bring, which do not have necessarily a spring or summer vibe, are the Self-Love Tarot and the Hollow Valley deck of symbols. The Self-Love Tarot is one of my favorite tarot decks in my collection. I don't just love the illustrations and the watercolor style and the use of color, especially the combination of warm and cool tones, but this also feels like a very grounded and gentle tarot deck. I also really love the guidebook that comes with this deck. It's very much focused on gentle and loving messages. So this is a very comforting deck for me. This is a deck that I would use when I'm feeling maybe a little bit down, maybe a little bit sad or low. And then this is a deck that can really give me a very clear message, but in a very loving way. So the Self-Love Tarot is definitely coming with me. The Hollow Valley deck of symbols is without a doubt one of my favorite oracles in my collection. It's almost a bit hard to describe why I love this deck so much, because this deck has a lot of qualities that I'm usually not really drawn to. First of all, it's all in black and white, so there's no color, and I absolutely love color. I also always whine about the absence of keywords. And this deck doesn't have keywords, it has titles. And there have been quite a lot of decks that I decided not to buy or decided to rehome because of that very reason. And for some reason, for the Hollow Valley deck of symbols, it is not at all an issue for me. This deck comes with a wonderful guidebook, and every time I've used this deck, I've gotten very, very beautiful messages from it. So I have a lot of warm feeling towards this deck, and I think it would be a lovely deck to bring. And even though the styles of these decks are completely different, I do think that they go very well together, and I love using these as a pair. So the Self-Love Tarot and the Hollow Valley deck of symbols will also be joining me. Now for the decks that I am not 1000% sure about yet. The Seasons of the Witch Litha Oracle and the Lighted Window Tarot. So the Seasons of the Witch Litha Oracle is very new to my collection. I think I received it last week or so. I have not really worked with it yet. I only did one card pull when it just arrived. But for some reason I'm just not quite sure if I will actually want to use this one while away from home. And then for the Lighted Window Tarot, this one is also very new to my collection. I did a first impressions video of this one that I will link down below. This is actually one of the very few pip decks in my collection that I am actually enjoying. I've pretty much rehomed all the other pip decks that I own. I just love the illustration style. I love the colors. It just feels like a very warm and cozy deck. Maybe it feels a little bit more autumnal for me. So maybe that's why I'm kind of hesitating to bring it with me. Now that I've seen them together, I do feel like these two would be lovely to bring with me. I don't know, they have quite cozy vibes, and that is also something that I would love to bring with me. So those are the Seasons of the Witch Litha Oracle and the Lighted Window Tarot. And then the last deck, the one that I am really on the fence about, is the Forest Meditations deck. I will put a link to my first impressions video of this deck below, in case you would like to see a little bit more of the deck. This is not an oracle deck. This is a deck focusing on meditating out in nature. It comes with a little booklet. As you can see, both the booklet and the deck are pretty shiny, but that's because they are laminated, so they are a little bit more protected when you want to take them out in nature with you. And the booklet holds a different meditation for every card. Now I'm a little bit conflicted about this deck. I couldn't find any walkthroughs of this deck when I first discovered it through an Instagram ad, so I decided to take a little gamble and order it to check it out for myself. I really loved the illustrations that I was able to check out on the website, but I wasn't sure if I would be able to use this deck as an oracle deck, and if the keywords or titles on the cards would be clear enough for that. And my conclusion for now is that they do not really work for me as an oracle in the current state of the deck. Meaning that if I would like to use this deck as an oracle, then maybe I could add some of my own keywords or meanings to the guidebook. But the thing is, I am not really sure if I will actually be doing that. There are other decks in my collection with the same style of illustrations that do have keywords and can be used immediately as an oracle. And this one focuses on meditations, so maybe I should just consider using it for that. But then again, I'm not sure if I would actually be doing all of these meditations, and especially not at random when shuffling the deck. Now, of course, I could, pick out a meditation that I'm interested in and try to practice that. I'm not sure if I have the patience for it, to be completely honest. Truly meditating is not really part of my practice, although I think a lot of the things that I do on a daily basis could be roughly considered as a form of mindfulness or meditation. But to really, do an exercise like this for 10 minutes, that just seems like a real challenge. And I'm not sure if I'm up for it. At least not now. So in a way, my fantasy self would love to bring this deck with me to Schwarzwald and actually use the deck in the way that it is intended. But I am not sure if that will be the case in reality. And I don't want to create a situation for myself where I will set all these unrealistic goals and then feel like a complete failure when not achieving them. That's something that is actually quite a challenge in general for an adventure like this, because my fantasy self might get up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning and hop on her bicycle to drive to a forest and do a little hike before going to work. But chances are my real self will be quite tired and not being able to get up that early, so I will just have to do some yoga in the apartment and then start my workday. So by setting all of these fantasy self unrealistic goals, I will definitely set myself up for failure. And I really want to use this time in Schwarzwald to really center myself and to try to really feel all the feels and act accordingly. That is something that has always been quite a challenge for me, because I'm constantly ignoring my own feelings and my own boundaries and pushing myself towards things that do not feel good at all. So that's maybe my main focus of this whole adventure, to really get in touch with myself, to maybe get a little bit closer to my true self, whatever that is, and to have fun. And I think with everything that I showed here today, it feels really good to bring those sketchbooks, those journals, those art supplies. I really expect to use those on maybe even a daily basis. But for a deck like this, I am not completely sure if I will actually use it. At the same time, it might not hurt to just take it with me and give it a try. Because the whole theme of the deck, of course, is absolutely perfect for this whole adventure. And that's the Forest Meditations deck. So these were my random ramblings about my Schwarzwald preparations. It has actually been quite a wonderful process to go through all of my creative stuff and see what I would like to bring, to get organized and customize things to make them feel pretty and warm and cozy. Because in the end, these are the things that feel like home for me. And I hope they will provide me with comfort and support whenever I will be needing it. If you're still here, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I wish you a lovely rest of your day or night, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!